think in some ways, like you said, we kind of have encapsulated, or maybe that's not the right word, crystallized that time period, and we're nostalgic about it. It means so much to us. And I think that I've never said it to anybody, but I'm at peace with what happened, and that was my only chunk of time, that newsroom. I can't ever get it back. Can't ever get my desk in front of Kent Kasey and across from Chris Fuhrmeister and Aimie Miller in front of us, and Dog Demmons.
Dog Demmons. Steve Martin, or rest his blessed soul. What a character. As we talk about it being a professional, and it was a professional, but there were characters in that newsroom that I don't know if those people could have existed in any other profession.
I think that's what it was. It was, everyone was kind of like
different.
Like everyone was kind of their own colorful personality. And people talk about imposter syndrome. I think at that age, for me, I didn't feel like, oh, I don't belong here. But I definitely felt like, man, it's pretty cool to be here. Because I always felt like
100%.
I had been trying prior to, it was the summer of 2006 when I got hired. And I was trying in 2004 to get in there. And when I got hired, I was just like, thank God someone actually opened my resume and sent this thing to TA and got me in the conversation. And you get in there and you're just, it's different than your average office place where people don't crack jokes and people just kind of have their own quirkiness, their own personalities. And, even David Knox, I didn't get to sit down and talk to David a whole lot. I think he was, maybe some more pressure was sitting on him. But other guys like Reimer and, well, I don't want to get into everybody's idiosyncrasies, but I loved everybody. I loved all the characters there. And I think we need going back to Mike Bolton real quick. I just want to say this. I didn't have anything against the guy, but I did take note, if he ever hears this, when you're the 24 or 25-year-old, and is it really your obligation to say, hey, how are you doing today? Or is it on that old dog or whatever to say, hey, Dan, welcome to the news. Hey, I know this is my desk. Sorry about the dip cup here. Hey, you guys are doing a great job.
There definitely was a dip cup. I did not make that up.
But he just never said anything. I would see him and we would make eye contact and we would get in each other's bubble. And he never asked about anything.
Well, let me say this.
Not that he had to.
Dan, no, I think it'd be nice if he had. Let me say this, because I think you're right that we don't need to get into too many people's idiosyncrasies, as you say, and I'm much too quick because I do love everyone, but sometimes I have to realize that maybe talking openly can be looked upon as being too critical. So I don't want to go too much into certain people. So it might be good that you did that. That being said, I will talk a little bit more. Well, we'll see how it goes. I was going to say a little bit broader scope on that. But to your point, there definitely was the divide between the reporters, or the quote-unquote reporters, beat writers, however you want to say it, and then the editors or the actual sports desk, which would be editors, designers, us. And by that, I mean they definitely – and I don't think we're speaking out of turn, because I think other people on the sports desk would have said the same thing, that – maybe they thought they were a little bit better.
I would agree. And I've got one exception, and I think you might agree with me on this one. I didn't see him a whole lot, but when I did, really super nice guy, Doug Segrest.
Was and let me say this.
A human being to us, and Solly.
Doug and Solomon Crenshaw, who both individuals that I have seen. I run into Solomon still doing great work, winning state journalism awards, doing whatever he can to keep putting product out there and putting quality reporting with a real heart out there, or just a real veteran of the business still out there, which there aren't a lot left locally that I see. So it's great to see. He's not for the news anymore, but just for, I think, the Birmingham Times, which has really stepped up in place. Basically just the more local periodicals that have stepped up in place of the news. Not that the news isn't technically still there. Well, the news the news really isn't. I mean, it's AL.com, but whatever. I won't get into any of that rant. But Solomon, and I'll say Doug Segrest was quick to respond to me when I was looking for work and was trying to help when he was at Regions. He may still be at Regions. And by the time I had reached out to Doug, I was in too dark of a place to really make it follow through, but he tried. I mean, he tried to, hey, Will, come meet with me. You can meet with these guys, da-da-da. And so I'll always be thankful to Doug for that, because Doug didn't really know me like that, because we did kind of not really cross paths as much. You know, the desk and the beat writers, reporters didn't really see each other as much.
That's right.
I will throw another one out there who I still see and talk to, and probably talk to more consistently, just through online, seeing him at UAB games. But Steve Irvine is a great guy and still carrying the torch for UAB reporting.
Oh,
still
man.
trying.
I don't think I ever met him, but would get his gamers, by email.
Great dude. Great his gamers. Even then, we weren't getting as UAB wasn't getting the love it deserved, but understandably. But an example would be an Ian Rapoport. But look at Ian. He is now, talk about crossing paths with greatness. Look at where Ian is now. I
told Craig on our episode, I'm just immensely proud of Ian Rapoport, and to have been on the same, like you said, there was some separation there, but.
And he was, Ian was a bit of a hot shot, but he was hot shot for a reason, as we see. And even at that time, understandable, but he was never a dick.
Agreed.
He was still, when he'd come across, would talk, and he always talked to Craig. I think they were related on some of the Yankee-ness, not the Yankees, just being Yankees, or being from the North. So yeah, I still feel pride, and will still mention sometimes about it. I worked with Ian. As if I had anything to do with his ascension to where he is now. But I got to ask you, played a very small role.
On I think it was Friday nights. The prep team was in there.
Oh my goodness!
Got to get your thoughts here on probably the sweetest person that it's hard to say there's one, and I didn't talk to her a whole lot, but the way she's kept up through the years, Sherri Parrish,
amazing woman, absolutely amazing. And talk about, Dan, you said it a little bit, referencing the part-timer role, even some level of the sports desk, because I know that, you referenced kind of David going through stuff. I think that's some part of it was feeling like he deserved more respect than he got. And the newspaper in general did kind of look their noses down at what was the economic driver for that paper.
We were the toy department.
And they just still look down upon us. So imagine us as part-timers. But even to take it farther, these people on the prep desk, and I know that maybe they didn't look at it as the same, because maybe it was a once a night, a couple times a week thing to pick up some extra money as opposed to maybe a full-time career. But the Sherrys and all those people, not getting the respect that they deserved for what they put in to the product. And now you don't have that. They worked
super hard.
Missing. Local reporting, local athletic reporting, there's really none of that. Yes, on some of these smaller periodicals, but you're not getting the level that you were getting when you had that sports desk, that prep desk. Sherri and Angel, and didn't have to be like that, and took too much shit from Boudry, and I love Paul,
Boots.
But there were so many great, and I can't remember as many names, but just such great people that just came in to spend their Friday night taking calls from stringers, coaches, whoever, to get this reporting out there, to get the local prep sports out there to the community. And, I can't imagine they were getting paid that much. They just did it to be a part of something, to, maybe make a little bit of extra money, but because they enjoyed it and for the love of it. And I'm pretty sure Sherri kept doing that for a long time. And also, what a beautiful lady.
Yes.
And I have not run into her, but I still see, friends with her on Facebook. Just a beautiful person inside and out.
Really, all she does is spread positivity. If she's at the Bama game, there's that great big smile, and when it's your birthday, I mean, she really takes a minute and writes you a message. And it's like, I don't know if she does that for everybody. I think she might, but it's just who she is. And I there's always people along the arc of life or whatever that you wish you could have just spent a little more time hanging out with, picking their brain, and she's one of them.
You're exactly right, Dan. And I don't know. It's sad, as you say, like, I was young and I didn't know when I'd be leaving, or, you don't have as much foresight, or you haven't been through life to know how quickly life moves, how people can come in and out of your life and you may never see them again, whether it's because of, obviously Sherri's still here, but for any number of reasons why you may not see someone again, whether they pass away or just, move, or you just don't see people because life just moves on and people come and go. But I would have loved to, and I don't remember now, and maybe Ken or someone has a better idea, but what Sherri's background was other than her work on the prep desk. Because I know she had to have a life outside. Obviously, she had a life outside the prep desk. But and that goes to another thing that I thought was special about the sports department, the sports desk, is so many different people, from full-time employees to part-time employees to people who weren't even really employed by the news, but stringers, or however you want to look at it. Everyone felt like a part of a team and just wanted to be a part of that sports page, that sports paper of the Birmingham News. And it was just such a cool thing to be a part of. And I'm sure that's how it was at other newspapers across the country, but all I know is the Birmingham News and how special it was there.
And like you said, it's so great to hear you say this, because I have the same when you close your eyes, and it just, as we're talking, those nights and those desks and the carpet and the empty desks over there, and then Mary Colurso over there, the arts and music critic. You forget that it's been so long, because when you close your eyes, it's all very fresh. At least it is for me. And what I'm connecting that thought to is 2024. People who are doing page design, or they're doing some semblance of what we were doing, they don't get that. Or maybe some areas they get that camaraderie. Or what is it all Kent, like work from home?
Kent, I'll tell you, Kent, still works for, and I don't even know if per se and Kent wouldn't mind me saying this. I talk to Kent pretty consistently. Kent's, he moved down to New Orleans and was working down there. I don't know if it was for the Picayune, but he was part of the broader media group. It's Alabama Media Group here, but basically, I don't know who's, where Kent gets his paycheck from or whatever, but Kent is at his home now, completely remote, and he's not only designing sometimes I guess he's now just designing, since Birmingham News doesn't have a print anymore, he's designing what papers do still have a print, but he's designing like the Portland Oregonian or whatever. I don't know what their newspaper, but Portland and whatever papers still exist, he's designing these where he's not even a part of the community. And Kent will tell you, and he'd tell you if you had him on here, and maybe one day down the line, I don't know how easy it is to do a podcast with like so many different people on at once, but it'd be fun to get the crew together. I think we need to do it.
Craig mentioned it. We got to start with me, you, Craig, and Chris. We've got to start with
the little guys or whatever. We weren't the little guys, but yeah.
But go ahead.
The agate clerks.
Yeah.
The
agate boys.
Agate boys. Talk about a term another term that
every time
that just.
I hate to cut you off mid thought here, but every time, and I've lived kind of in a rural area, close to the coast now, but when you drive through little towns, Alberta and Foley down here, and you just see agriculture or agricultural, you see it abbreviated in ag, you see ag spelled out. I can't help but be drawn back to the newsroom. Every time I see ag.
Ag, 12 ag 05 or whatever we would do the agate file, whatever the date was. I can't remember exactly, but yes. But what I was, just to circle back real quick, is no, you're not getting that. There's no desk. There's no, and by desk, I don't mean like the physical desk. I mean the newsroom desk. And so Kent will say, he's like, "Oh, I'm thankful to still have a job in this business, but no, I just go through the motions, Will." He's just designing pages for papers where he's not even a part of the community, where he has no, and there's no editors. I mean, Kent says there are, I guess, some level of higher editors, but really he'll say he'll edit some things here and there, but it's just wild to think about the differences. And I guess I shouldn't make this into a whole talk of the newspaper industry or reporting industry or whatever, because that's a whole nother deal. But man, I don't think people can understand. And I'm just like, I couldn't understand, being a underwater welder or being a school teacher wherever. So, I mean, there's always moments in time, and people can always say, well, you can't understand unless you were there. But that's really something I am so thankful and will be with me the rest of my life, and I will cherish. And I don't think it's just, I mean, you've said it, Dan, and I've heard from a lot of other people. That was a special time, even for those longtime guys, the Kent, the Reimers of the world, who had been on sports desks and been a part of even they would say that was a truly special time just because of the crew we had together. And you said one thing, I think, about just Sherri making you feel good or all that. I want to circle back, and then I'll stop talking, and I'm sorry to just ramble and take control.
Oh, I love it.
Of your podcast, Dan. But I didn't realize at the time, until now I've gotten out and worked different jobs and been in different places, how great, Tom Arenberg was, but really someone like Charles Hollis, who was an absolute, in the Sports Hall of, Journalist Hall of Fame, an absolute legend. I sort of knew, but I didn't really know until really post-time. But not only did he just, was nice, but treated you like an equal. Never had any pretense, no air of elitism, and that is not the case in a lot of workplaces.
Right.
And it's just, that was such a great, just a special place to be. And I just wanted to give some love to Charles because he was a legend. And I didn't realize how much of a legend he was when we were there.
I don't think we understood the full scope of it, but you're right. He'd sit there and talk to you. I remember when I was kind of going around, I'd already talked to Arenberg that I was leaving, and I got to Charles's desk, and he stopped what he was doing, and he put his glasses down on the desk, and he leaned back, and he was visibly, I'm not going to say emotional, but he was visibly like disappointed. Like, oh, Dan? And he immediately shifted to, well, you got a lot to offer wherever you're going. And I don't think I knew where I was going. Or no, I'd already accepted this job at the restaurant. But I was too ashamed to even talk to these guys, these legends of their craft, and tell them that I was leaving the industry to go wait tables. And but he just looked at me with
that was just a reality, Dan.
He was like,
you had to do it.
Yeah. But I'll never forget. It was just such a visual that I can replay over and over of how he treated me with deference, I guess you'd say, and he always had time to talk to you. Don't go up right before 10 minutes before deadline, but
no.
If you walk back there, he wasn't going to intimidate anybody, and actually nobody.
He wasn't going to yell at anyone.
This was like the old guard, Arenberg and Knox and Hollis and all these guys, that any one of them could have just been these ball-busting pricks. And they were all pretty cool, in their own right. And Steve, Craig, if you mention Steve's name, he's understandably still a little bent out of shape about the lack of work that Steve in those later years actually performed. But,
Let me say this.
I was endlessly.
Go ahead.
I was personally just endlessly forgiving of Steve. His humor was enough, and the caricature that he was happy to play the part of the boozing, womanizing. I don't want to demean anything for.
The news may have gone out of business. The news may have gone out of business, or had to go to 3 days a week. Maybe they could have lasted another 6 months to a year if the bottom line finances. I mean, Steve probably cut into that with his printing of all the centerfolds or the Hooters, like Girl of the Week, slash. I mean, that's probably the PG of what he was printing out, and the amount. I mean, his binder of just
the
bikini
briefcase.
models or whatever. Yeah, briefcase. But I mean, the news probably paid a pretty penny for those color pages.
Wow.
And Dan, let me say this real fast about to follow up on what you said about Charles and just picturing.
Yeah.
I mean, I honestly teared up a little bit when you said the whole, like, he took his glasses off and leaned back. I can see, and I hadn't thought, this is what's so special about, sometimes I'm like, man, I smoked too much pod, or like I drank too much. I can't remember things anymore. But really, sometimes it just takes getting with people and talking and rejuvenating these memories or these parts of your brain or whatever, because I can so picture Charles leaning back, and it is clear as day in my head right now, and him maybe like clasping his hands together, or just kind of like stopping what he was doing to talk to you, or to have and it's just such a powerful image that you brought back to me by saying that about you going over to tell him, hey, I'm moving on or whatever. But it's just, literally tears welled up my eyes because it flashed in my head, this amazing image of Charles, taking his glasses off and leaning back in his chair or whatever it may be. And it's just, you can't take those things. They're just ingrained in you. And that's what's so special about about reconnecting. I'm so thankful that you reached out, because even if we don't, I hope we talk again sometime, podcast or otherwise, but it's just so special to reconnect. And this has been a really, really great time for me. And I feel like I talk too much. I want to hear so much more of your memories or thoughts and things, and could do this, for all of time. But because we didn't even get into, there's so many things to get into, and it may not be interesting to others, but it sure as hell is interesting to me. And it's already been so, I don't want to say cathartic, but it's just been really, really great.
It has been. Will, I love hearing you say that, because I was excited to jump into this conversation. I was so thrilled when you responded and said, absolutely, let's do it. Let's do a podcast, because, not everybody says yes. Not everybody responds. Most of the people that have known me at some point in time, they'll respond. Not everybody wants to do it. But when you were like, yeah, let's do it, I was already excited, but I didn't know really how much this conversation would mean to me. And to be able to talk to somebody who was feeling some of the same things that I was feeling, getting a little too deep into the lifestyle that I was getting into, but still loved the work and had similar recollections of that newsroom. And wow, I wish in 2024 someone that's 24 years old and 2024, I wish that guy or girl could just be around a group like that every night and drive to their downtown city center and just see the beauty of the skyline.
Oh my gosh.
And just pull down 3rd Avenue North, or wherever it is, some major metro area, and go to work at a newspaper and get around people like that. I wish that was still available to everybody in the industry.
Well, I think it's a huge loss to not just, this community, but communities across this nation. There's plenty of, and there probably should be more studies, more books, more articles regarding the death of the newspapers and the print industry, but definitely newspapers and local reporting
and local news.
Newsrooms, local news. But that being said, we're hurting, and by we, the United States or our communities or whatever, because there aren't news desks like we experienced. There aren't people getting together and coming together to put these ideas forth, to report these stories. And that's one thing, and not to go too far into this, but sports or not, I really felt like we were doing such a service for our community, Dan. And I don't know why I say sports or not. The whole deal is sports is the great unifier. And that's what, to this day we still have, and hopefully we'll have forever as things have gotten, I'm not going to get political, but as we become more divided, it seems now, is that because of the it bleeds, it leads media making us think we're more divided than it seems? We're not going to get into all that. But the point is, it does seem like we're more divided than ever. And sports is one of the last bastions across culture, race, economic class that brings everyone together. And that's what we were doing, was bringing that to our community and reporting on that. And it's just, it didn't matter that I was barely able to pay my bills or not able to have a 401k at the news because I had to have it all go into my paycheck because, there was no matching or anything like that. And I'm still thankful for it because it was the best times of my life. And I don't have any, that's not sad for me to say. That's just reality. It was a special time that I will cherish until the day I die. And I think about it. I honestly do. I think about it all the time. And I don't say that with any kind of sadness. I say it, it's kind of what's the expression of, be thankful it happened. Not that it's over, but that it happened or whatever that is.
Yes. Don't be sad that it ended. Just be grateful or happy that it happened.
That it happened. Or, I think anyone, if they're listening, would know what we're referencing. And it's just, that's how I feel. And I love being able to talk about it because, like I said, it's just something I am so thankful, and it made me who I am.
Stick around for the third and final part of my conversation. Who is Will Grant? Hope you're enjoying the Dan Time Podcast. Thanks for listening.